Fairytale, Cinderella. Once upon a time, there lived a wealthy and respected gentleman. When his first wife passed away, he took another wife, a mean and arrogant woman who had 2 daughters as ill-tempered as herself. The gentleman also had a daughter, a kind and sweet girl. The stepmother disliked her stepdaughter from the very first glance. The poor girl did all the hardest work in the house, mopped the floors, cleaned the rooms, washed the dishes and pots. After work, she rested, sitting on a cinder box in the kitchen corner. That's how the girl got her nickname, Cinderella. One day, the prince decided to throw a ball and invited the richest people in town with their wives and daughters. Cinderella's stepmother and her daughters were also invited. They were very excited. All they could talk about was what to wear to the ball and how to catch the prince's eye. And Cinderella had even more work. After all, no one could decorate dresses and choose ribbons as well as her. She helped the sisters get ready for the occasion, ironed their gowns, sewed on lace, and curled their locks. Cinderella herself didn't even dream of attending the ball. The long-awaited day came. Her stepmother and stepsisters left, and Cinderella burst into tears. Her godmother came to comfort the girl. She was a fairy sorceress and knew that Cinderella had long been dreaming of dancing at a ball. "I'll help you get into the palace," said the fairy godmother. "Bring me the biggest pumpkin." Cinderella was surprised but didn't show it and brought a big orange pumpkin. Without saying a word, the fairy godmother touched it with her magic wand, and the pumpkin turned into a golden carriage. The grey mice became carriage horses, the whiskered rat, the coachman, and the 6 green lizards, footmen in green uniforms. Finally, the fairy godmother touched Cinderella's old dress with her magic wand, and it changed into a wonderful gown, covered with precious stones. On her feet, she had sparkling glass slippers. The fairy godmother seated Cinderella in the carriage and gave her strict orders. "You must return home before midnight. If you're late by even a minute, the carriage will transform back into a pumpkin, and the magic gown will become rags again." "Don't worry, dear godmother. I won't be late," Cinderella replied, and rode off to the palace. The prince fell in love with Cinderella at first sight. In the grand ballroom, he introduced the girl to the king and queen, and when the music started playing, he asked her to dance. Cinderella danced so gracefully that no one in the ballroom could take their eyes off her. "Oh, she's so stunning," whispered the king to the queen. And the guests said that they hadn't seen such a charming young lady in a long time. When the refreshments were being served, the prince chose the sweetest fruits for Cinderella. He himself didn't eat a bite and spent the whole evening admiring the beautiful young lady. Cinderella found her stepsisters among the guests, treated them to some oranges, and said some nice words to each of them. During a conversation, the girl heard the palace clock striking 1:15 to midnight. Cinderella bowed and left so quickly that no one could catch up with her. When she got home, the girl barely had time to put on her old apron before her stepmother and stepsisters arrived. All they could talk about was the mysterious princess who liked them so much that she treated them to delicious fruits. The sisters also noticed that the prince was ready to give half his life to learn where the mysterious beauty was from. The prince doesn't know yet that the beautiful princess is Cinderella. Kids, do you remember who helped her get into the palace? An old dwarf, Puss in Boots, her fairy godmother. Of course, Cinderella was helped by her fairy godmother. Subscribe to our channel. There are many interesting fairy tales waiting for you. The next evening, the stepsisters went off to the ball again, and so did Cinderella. She was dressed even more elegantly than the evening before. The prince was so charming and gracious that Cinderella forgot about everything in the world. All she wanted was to listen to the prince. But suddenly, she heard the clock strike midnight. Cinderella realized that she was late, so faster than a deer, she hurried off. The prince rushed after her, but couldn't catch up. All he could find was the glass slipper she lost on the wide palace staircase. He picked it up, pressed it to his heart, and began asking everyone if they had seen where the beautiful girl had gone. No one noticed her. The guards at the gate only saw some poor girl, but she didn't look like a princess. Meantime, Cinderella ran back home all tired. She no longer had a carriage and horses, and the footmen ran off because they turned into lizards. Cinderella's beautiful ball gown became a raggedy dress again, in the pocket of which she placed a glass slipper, a pair to the one she lost in the palace. When the stepsisters returned, all they could talk about was how the mysterious beauty ran off from the ball the moment the clock struck midnight, and how sad the prince was since he was madly in love with the beauty. This turned out to be true. A few days later, the royal messengers announced that the prince would marry the girl who fitted the left glass slipper. Of course, the first to try on the slipper were the most noble girls in the kingdom. Princesses, duchesses, ladies of the court, but the slipper was too small for all of them. Soon the turn came for Cinderella's stepsisters. They tried and tried to pull on the slipper, but it was too tiny and didn't even fit on the tip of their toes. Cinderella just smiled. "Maybe this slipper will fit me," Cinderella asked the royal messenger. Her sisters just laughed meanly. "I have orders to let every girl in the kingdom try on this slipper." Everyone was so shocked when the slipper fit the girl's foot perfectly. And when Cinderella took the other glass slipper out of her pocket, her fairy godmother came into the room. She touched the girl's old dress with her magic wand, and it changed into a ballroom gown. The stepsisters immediately realized who the mysterious princess was, and they began asking Cinderella to forgive them all their insults. Cinderella forgave them from the bottom of her heart because she didn't know how to keep a grudge. When the girl was brought to the palace and the prince saw her again, he realized that she had become even more beautiful, and so the wedding was held just a few days later. Do you know that the prince fell in love with Cinderella not because she had glass slippers and a beautiful dress? The prince saw that she was a kind-hearted, modest and hard-working girl. Cinderella's dream came true and she became a princess. Remember that for dreams to come true, you must work hard and be kind to everyone. Fairy Tale, Belyanotchka and Rozochka. On the edge of the forest, in an old hut, there once lived a poor woman. In front of the hut there was a garden, and 2 rose bushes grew in it. White roses bloomed on one, and red roses on the other. 2 beautiful daughters looked after the garden. They were similar to these roses. One of them was called White, and the other Rose. Both of them were humble, kind, and obedient girls. Once while in the forest, they even made friends with a bear, and the bear came to visit them often. Once, the mother sent the daughters into the forest to collect brushwood. The girls were happy to help their mother, and they walked along the forest path looking for dry firewood. They sang songs and told each other funny stories. Suddenly, in a clearing, they saw a tiny man. He was running around a fallen tree, as if on a leash. Belyanotchka and Rozochka went closer and saw a magnificently dressed gnome with a wrinkled face and long white beard, the end of which was stuck in an old stump. The man's eyes were red as hot coals and unkind.
"What are you standing there for? Can't you see I need help?"
The gnome creaked in a nasty voice. "What happened to you, dear man?" Rozochka asked.
"You can't see or what?"
The gnome replied rudely.
"I wanted to split this stump and get thin wood chips so I could cook some food, but the axe jumped out at the wrong time. And now my beautiful beard is stuck, and you just stand and watch. Ugh, you are disgusting."
The girls tried as hard as they could to pull out the beard, but they didn't succeed. The stump did not give up. "Oh, we need to call more people to help," Ryzochka said.
You stupid girl, what do you mean, more people? There are already too many of you.
The gnome shouted loudly.
Come up with a better idea.
"Okay, I figured it out," whispered Belyanotchka. She took some scissors out of her pocket and cut off the end of the beard which was stuck in a stump. As soon as the dwarf felt he was free, he grabbed a bag of gold he had tucked away in the roots of the tree and quickly dragged it away towards the rocks, grumbling about the ugly girls who ruined his magnificent beard. But he didn't get far. A huge bird of prey dove from the sky, grabbed the gnome and tried to fly up to the sky with him. Belyanotchka and Ryzochka ran up, grabbed the man and fiercely fought with the huge bird until it let his prey go. Not even a minute passed and the gnome recovered from his fright and again screamed at them in a terrible voice.
How clumsy, rude and disgusting you are. Couldn't you be more careful? You tore my suit with your hands. It's full of holes now. Oh, my great fashionable suit.
And the gnome grabbed his sack again and dragged it under a rock into a secret underground vault, while never stopping scolding the girls. Suddenly, from a thicket in the forest, there came a terrifying roar. A bear ran out into the meadow and moved towards the gnome. The man realized that with his short legs, he would never run away from the huge beast, and so he fell on his knees and prayed.
Dear Mr. Bear, don't eat me. I am dried up, wiry and small. For you, it's just one bite. It would be better to pay attention to those two girls. They are sure to be delicious. You should eat them. You'll definitely like them.
But the bear did not want to listen to the old gnome. Just one stroke of the paw, and the evil gnome disappeared, like he never existed. The girls got scared and ran away, but the bear called after them in a human voice. Belyanotchka and Ryzochka, it is me. Don't be afraid, I'll go with you. And indeed, it was the old friend of the two sisters, whom they had fed from their mother's garden. When the bear approached the girls, the bearskin fell off him, and a beautiful young man appeared, dressed in rich clothes. I am the king's son, the prince, said the young man. The evil gnome was a sorcerer. He stole all of my jewels and turned me into a bear. I had to roam the woods like a beast. But I managed to catch the gnome and reverse the spell. You both took pity on me while I was a silent wild beast, so we won't be apart again. Now I'm human again, and I want you, Belyanotchka, to become my wife. And Ryzochka, my brother likes you very much. He will gladly marry you. And so it happened. Soon they had 2 weddings, and the sisters moved into the royal palace. And their mother moved into the palace with them, and they lived with her for many years. The daughters were calm and happy. Their mother took both rose bushes with her. They grew under her window. Even today, every summer, wonderful roses bloom on them. Red on one and white on the other. And that's it, my dear friends. Kindness finds its way to any heart, even that of a wild bear. Selfless help and care make the world a better place. And anger and rudeness are unpleasant and do not honor anyone, even a grumpy gnome.